BBC Radio Norfolk. This is Nick Conrad at breakfast.
Just general thanks to the East of England Ambulance Service that they've been so accommodating this morning in allowing us to invade this very important space. And when a radio programme comes in, they've been saying to us it's quite low key how we do this programme. It's still an invasion because the call on their time in this unit is very precious. And what's going on just beyond the glass from where I'm sitting is potentially life-saving as more calls continue to come into the service. I can't give you the number of calls that have been received since I've been here, since 6:30, but I can tell you roughly between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, there were 200 calls across the region, roughly, that came in, of which many were handled here in Norwich. And we know that in that time, we could see on the chart a number of ambulances started to run red to various calls, of course, which will be potentially life-changing, life-saving calls. Okay, let's speak to David, who's in Norwich. Good morning, David.
Morning. I'm a student paramedic. I worked for the Trust. I worked for about 3.5 years. I'm just currently on my way into UEA this morning to finish some of my studies. I was just listening briefly to the radio this morning. One of the points and one of my personal frustrations, I can just speak from personal experience, is our attitudes towards alcohol and alcohol consumption. It's quite easy when we talk about smoking and how it's frowned upon now, and we talk about drug taken from cannabis, heroin, and all these terrible people doing it. But lots of the issues that we have are underpinned by mental health. Lots of those issues aren't being resolved, and the underfunding is still seeing massive problems. So these are symptoms of a much bigger picture. But one of the main bits, the reason why I rung is why I get personally frustrated is how we advertise alcohol as a positive, fun thing. And the specific examples I can think of when Holly Willoughby and Philip Schofield, after the TV Awards, they came on this morning apparently intoxicated, and they laughed about it, and it's a fun thing. Programs like Loose Women regularly talk about alcohol and drinking. Love Island, not that I watch it, but that there was an episode which was all about drinking games, and we are very socially accepted that drinking is a fun thing. Obviously around the World Cup, me personally, I went to the pub, had a couple of beers, drank responsibly, enjoyed the World Cup. However, you see these things where drinking is in excess. Now, it's easy to blame the Friday, Saturday night, and drinking's all about people, Prince Wales Road and that. But, we have a great team in the SOS bus who do an absolutely fantastic service down there. From what I see, I don't tend to go down there much because the SOS bus does such a great job. But from my personal experience, not speaking for the Trust, but from my personal, is I go to a lot of people where social drinking has become a problem over years. They don't acknowledge it early enough. It becomes the norm. It becomes a crutch in a situation when we have stress, and we're all susceptible to stressful situations, and we self-medicate through alcohol. We would never laugh about smoking anymore. We wouldn't see games of smoking cannabis. We wouldn't see people using heroin. That would be totally unacceptable, but we actively laugh about people drinking, and mainstream people in the press are constantly, and I think it's just an education thing. If we can talk about tax, and that has its place, but for me personally, if we just understood the pitfalls and education, we didn't allow it to be talked about on mainstream TV and didn't make it socially acceptable, that's just a small part of changing attitudes. But certainly, from what I see in 3.5 years, the people we go to this isn't just your Friday, Saturday night binges. They're 10, 20 years' time, they're going to be our problem people, because that's going to change and it's going to become something that the ambulance service will go to that. Me personally,
David, listen, a couple of things I'll say to you. Well, from a student paramedic perspective, boy oh boy, don't you speak well, and you make absolute sense. You're quite right in what you say about the attitudes towards casual alcoholism, is how I'm going to term it. And I think actually you're right when you highlight the social responsibility of broadcasters to not glamorise the fact that people like to get drunk, or the overconsumption of alcohol. At the same time, I suppose there might be people out there saying, but we have to be careful because people can, like I do, enjoy a drink every now and again. So we don't want to put a stigma on those who enjoy to having a drink every now and again. But you're absolutely right when you talk about giving people a range of facts about what it does to their healthcare. But beyond that as well, the fact that you can compromise yourself if you're incredibly drunk in terms of your security and so on. So I think maybe being a bit more honest about it and taking the glamour and the sparkle away from it is a very good point.
Totally. I just think, and I use the Philip Schofield Holly Willoughby case as an example.
It's a great example. It's a great example.
No need for that to be, and that's just about social responsibility from their part, and that didn't add to the show in any way. That if they have photos taken by the paparazzi outside in their own life, that's a different story. But actually going on a TV show, laughing about it, midday, kids, young people, and it just makes it totally acceptable. It's just one small part of many things that need to happen. But I think the bigger picture, mental health is a massive problem. I personally suffered from a mental health issue, and the service I got was really good, but I had to really push for it myself, and I had a really good support structure around me in terms of my family and my friends. But the flip side, a lot of people don't have that. So where do they go? And I feel really sorry for people. When we talk about what's going on in the NHS and certainly what's happening within the Trust, the things that Trust is doing, I was really pleased to see certain areas within the CQC report yesterday where the Trust has improved. But all I can do as an individual is do my very best, and I see all my colleagues doing the same. We are under a lot of pressure. But I do love my job. I love going to work. I can give you countless examples where something I've personally done and some of my colleagues have done have dramatically changed people's lives, and we've got real pride on that. The flip side is we are under a lot of pressure. We see things that people shouldn't have to do. The fire service and the police service also had that, and you can see how things start to slide. And I think within ourselves we understand the importance of mental health within ourselves and the colleagues, but we also see the impact on patients, and it's a shame. It's just not being addressed. It's great to see people like Norman Lamb really champion it, but I think there's lots to be done. Yeah,
David, listen. Really good to have you on the programme this morning. Thank you ever so much for your time. And I have to say that with the passion that you've demonstrated in this call, that the service, the ambulance service, has got a good one coming on board when you go from being a student to full time. So I'm delighted to hear that you are progressing through the ranks and you're doing your training, and you'll be out on the road as a fully fledged paramedic soon. David, thank you. Good to have you on. 0800 389 7321 if you're picking up the phone this morning. This is Nick Conrad at Breakfast. We're talking about 70 years of the NHS, and we're talking about whether it's going to be here in 70 years' time and what does it need to do to ensure its longevity.